guy alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon By. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Frank from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
What do you get when you cross a crow with the toaster? A crowster. God damn, I love jokes. You are about to enter into an oral agreement with the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC. I'm your host, Nate, and joining me, as always, is my spirit guide in this soccer fever dream, John Bisworm. John!
Nate! What's up, man? It's time for us to protect our house, Nate. This weekend, I am so ready. I am so amped to play some home soccer.
Yes, I'm pumped. We are in full soccer mode, and that means a ton of game talk this week. The first game of the season is already behind us, and I want to know what the hell happened. We're going to also preview two upcoming games in this show, our home opener against Med City and Wednesday's tilt against the TwinStars. Buckle up, baby. We are about to take off.
Is that how you landed the misses?
Hey, buckle up, baby. I'm 35 and alone, and I have no idea how to take responsibility for myself.
Yep, I have a dog that's barely alive.
All right, so John, we were flying high last week about our prospects to start the season, opening up against a Sioux Falls side that we beat twice last year. Once when we traveled there with only 12 men. So imagine my surprise as I sat glued to the Twitter machine and watched us piss away a lead.
Well, first off, thanks a lot for tickling everyone and saying there's a stream and then it not working.
Yeah.
I was like,
thanks, Thunder.
Yeah, I think it was the actual thunder that brought the stream down because there was some bad weather in the area. So who knows? But anyways, Nate, a wise person once said, you take 3 points at home and at least a draw on the road, and that wins you a championship. So am I happy with the result? Yes. Do I think we should have maybe done better? Yes. But Nate, that is soccer, and we have seen that soccer sometimes is not a gift. This time it was a wake-up call, but it's not the end of the world yet. And I say yet because I could be eating my hat if our division comes down to 2 points, to be honest. But that's to be determined. Yeah. I mean, it could. It very well could.
Yeah, it was 3 last year.
Right. So, who knows? I don't actually want to eat my hat. I like all my hats. So, I'll eat my words. How about that? A lot easier to chew on. Yes. So, to kick it off, a relatively full squad drove down I-90, which is a good sign and a good trip to get out of the way early in the year. But we didn't bring home all 3, as we noted. We ran into typical 4-tier soccer problems with half our team either being gone or picking up an injury or had like life things that were going on last weekend and could not attend. So we did not do what we could have done from a roster standpoint. However, the mastery of Sarah to get some of these guys quickly registered was fantastic. So hats off to her for pulling some strings to make sure that we did have quality that was going.
Yeah.
That we maybe didn't intend to go because of some of the last minute problems we ran into with players. So as far as our starting lineup goes, we had Big Game James in net. We had relatively new signing Mark Haight out on the left. We had Max Kent and Miles Norwell starting in the middle, and then Ayo out on the right, with Will Kidd making an appearance in the middle of the field with Charlie and Lionel Vang. So if you're hearing that at home, we had none of our regular center midfielders. Yeah. So that should also be something that is a testament to maybe the final score line. But anyways, we had Hutton and Whitney on the wings, and then Timmy up top, and then a bench of Nick Hines, who drove over from Nebraska to make the match.
Oh, snap.
Yep, he's not home yet, so he's still finishing up exams. So
That's awesome.
yep. So he made the trip. He couldn't pass up some free soccer. And we also had Siku, Brandon McGarity, and Wexler, who were both coming off of injury and were fit to play, but maybe not fit to play a lot of minutes.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't, right? They came in pretty late. But I'm going to start off this analysis on a bit of a sour note, John. It's hard not to do when you're a fan expecting 3 points. So we go down early in the exact same way as we did against Sioux Falls at home last summer. And that is from a Michael Haight goal off of a quick counterattack. Like, I just watched the highlights from last year's Sioux Falls, and I was like, oh, that's Michael Haight. He's on the team again this year. Hope we can deal with them. We couldn't. So the question is, was this a fluke, or is this a symptom of like an ongoing chronic issue? Because like one game in and it's already getting really old.
I get your frustration, but I see this as something of a one-off because we've worked very, very hard in training this week to make the necessary adjustments needed. So you can't change what happened, Nate. You can only put your minds together, sharpen the tools, and roll the ball out with lessons learned.
Word. So, but the good news is we were able to pull a goal back like almost immediately. Tim Wills is fouled in the box, and Nick Hutton squares up and buries the first City goal of the 2018 season from the penalty line.
So full transparency for listeners, I was not there, but I've talked to like 20 plus people who were there. So I got a lot of different views on what did and did not happen. So that's what I'll kind of say about that. So I'll give an account of what I was told and kind of sprinkle in some of my thoughts. So for how long, Nate, have I been saying it's not how you take the punch to the face. It's what you do after you get punched in the face. And yeah. Here's an example of it right away in the beginning of the season. The boys actually fought back this time almost right away, and I love that. They drive right down the pitch, create an opportunity to capitalize, and we all know how Timmy goes about his business, and he is very deft at putting his body in places where defenders kind of don't expect him to be. So in this instance, received a pass, took a positive touch, outfoxed the defender, and was taken down. And then enter Nick Hutton, who tucks home the spot kick, and we are level, totally new ball game.
Yeah, and we went up 2-1 in the 27th minute, so this is all like some pretty early action here. When Whitney Brown puts one into the back of the net after looking really dangerous up to that point. He'd kind of missed a couple shots leading up to this, and that's refreshing to see from Whitney, who was hobbled last year.
Right. And again, this is kind of secondary, but Whitney, he made a diagonal run to receive a pass from one of his friends in the center of the park, and then was one-on-one with the goalie and slotted it home. But there's not really much more to say about it other than it's great to see him on the score sheet early in the season. For him, last season was completely a wash. He was injured in the preseason, never really got healthy. That he had that red card against Duluth in the first home game, and then a series of kind of off chances just plagued him, and he struggled so hard to get back into things. But he is back, and it's looking like the guy we saw in the Open Cup 2 years ago. Dynamic runs, he's tucking the ball away, and I'm really happy for him to be finally back doing things how he wants to do it on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we had this amazing introduction to Whitney in the U.S. Open Cup, and then like you said, beginning of last season, things don't really go his way. He has a couple nice goals at Eris, but otherwise he was pretty quiet due to those issues. So it's good to see him firing away on all cylinders at the start of this season. So it sounds like the first half progressed. As the first half progressed, I should say, we continued to look a little dangerous, despite some increased physicality from Sioux Falls. But we're not the best team at handling a physical style of play as last year showed. How did we handle it this week compared to last year?
Well, I already mentioned one thing that we had 3 new people in the center of the field. We're that's the true engine. So these guys have been playing together in the preseason, but you have a U23 call up and Lionel Van getting his first start right away, and he's a great player, but that's kind of a lot to ask of a guy to throw him into the mix. And then you move Charlie out of his defensive, outside defender position, and then you insert Will Kidd into the middle of the field too, where he played a little bit with St. Thomas there.
Yep.
But still, it's how dangerous are we expected to be when you have your playmakers, 3 of them not in their natural spot or brand new to the team? But we played positive soccer. We kept the ball. We tried to make really calculated moves forward when they presented themselves, but we couldn't unlock that code that would see us get the 3rd insurance goal that I think we desperately needed, especially on the road.
Yeah, and it turns out we had lots of close chances in that second half. We just couldn't put it away. Whitney, Will, Timmy all had some real nice opportunities, but it was just not to be. And Thunder substitute Manny Rosas Quiros did what teams tend to do against us and burned past on the counter to bury that equalizer in the 75th minute. It sounds like this kid was really fast.
Yeah, that one kind of stung. And mostly it stung because of the fact that the shot came from 40 yards out.
What?
Yeah, and it was like he just created a window, and it wasn't a situation, from what I heard, that James was caught off guard. The guy just literally hit a laser, and sometimes that happens where you can't put yourself in that position to be able to give up that shot from that far out, but when it's hit right, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Kind of hats off, and you pick the ball at the back of the net. So, again, that one stung, but it is something that we have to really get better at, and that's protecting a lead. And we worked on it really, really hard this week. And I will say that credit goes to our scout team, in quotation marks, with the players from our U23 team, because they put our MPSL team really through some kind of situational training tests and assignments this week to work on that. And they performed admirably. And it's something that we have. It's kind of a luxury that we, having this U23 team, we kind of didn't think about. It was our first session this Tuesday. I was actually at the session where we separated fully, and there were 2 separate training sessions going on, working on 2 separate things, but then ultimately coming together at the end and then working on those situations in full-side soccer. Last year, we did not have that. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little less worried about things because we can work on them. So, again, credit to those guys. But we have seen one thing. It's that the rest of the league is not going to change. The balls will still come from long, and they'll continue to come from long, and it'll continue to be physical. But we have to do a better job of recognizing our spots and squashing out counterattacks to reading the game better.
Yeah, and we know this because we both watched Duluth, Dakota last night, too, who both played
that was the ping pong match.
Frequent long diagonal balls to get guys behind.
Well, the score was 4-4 at the end of overtime, so not a whole lot of defense was played in that one. But 2-1, people say, is the most dangerous lead in soccer, and it's this type of style of play, which is the reason why people say that, because anything can happen when you're just lumping ball after ball. Because a guy could slip, or a header skips off your head wrong, or whatever.
Yep.
And someone scores it, but flat out, we need to do better, and we will do better.
So try as we might, we just couldn't squeeze out that game winner at the end. From what I read on the Twitter feed, on the game day feed, it felt like we were trying to squeeze more speed into the attack. We moved Whitney to the top, to the striker position, subbing Siku in for Timmy, and then Hines in for Haight, which would put fresh legs on the wings there. And then we put Wexler in for Vang, and then even ended up going down to a 3-man back line, subbing Miles Norville out for Brandon McGarity. But both Wexler and McGarity, as you said, nursing a little bit of a knock. So not entirely effective, and both those substitutes came, in the 80-plus minute. So nothing really did materialize for us, unfortunately, and so we ended the game 2-2.
Yeah, at the end of it, Nate, it really was a game of missed chances, as you noted. I mean, but this can seem like a total bummer, but I'll put a positive spin on it. I spent my day today with Coach Jeremy running through some work with the Bethel boys.
Yeah.
So I can only be just sweating positivity after hanging out with him all day. But this year, we at least we created the glut of chances.
Yep.
Last year, how many times did we not have any chances, or we had 1 or 2? So I'm okay hearing that we missed a bunch of chances because we created them. So the next step will be for us to work on tucking them home, and I know that was part of training this week, was the final third finishing. But we fought hard, and although 2 points were left on the pitch, we took 1 back home with us.
So, John, I have 2 takeaways from this game, and I want to hear what you think about them. First of all, this counterattack problem is like a recurring nightmare. I've already brought it up. We got Adam's take on it last week, and it seems like maybe that blanket that he was talking about might just be too short. Like, what do you think it's going to take to fix it?
Part of it I mentioned earlier, and that's just recognizing your spots when you need to push and when you need to pull. And if we worry every game about counterattacks, they're going to happen more often because we're overthinking about them. Mm-hmm. So where I come from is we just make the positive adjustments, and that could perhaps be through personnel changes, maybe sooner in matches, and we'll be just fine. Or, some positional changes or whatever it may be, just recognizing it and making them earlier so we can kind of hang on to those leads. Because if you run down our roster, we have the cars in the garage to win those races. It's really just a situation where we might need to kind of fire them up a little bit earlier.
Right. So secondly, if I could take something positive from this, which you are good at doing today, it's that we came away with
Shocker.
that. It is weird. It's that we came away with that point after a long trip. It was early in the season with about 50% of our active roster available. So not an ideal situation to travel to the other side of the state, but there are points to make up down the road. And I'm of course like frustrated with the result, but this team that traveled is only really pieces of the core, and I expect better results when we have everyone back. Like you said, a midfield that is not at all standard. I would say substandard when you got to put one of your best wingers and one of your best fullbacks into the midfield. That's very strange. So I think that once we get up to full strength and full speed, we should expect much better.
Well, I mean, you should also look on the other side of the coin, speaking of positivity, in that we created a bunch of chances with those guys in there.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a positive that, we can fall back on that if we absolutely have to. But really nothing more for me to add, Nate. We move on to the next, and we have a real good short-term memory is all you can really say.
Yeah. Hey, I wish I would have been there to talk to Will and Charlie about kind of their experience moving to midfield, Will moving back to midfield, a place he played over the course of the season, and Charlie moving back to the midfield where he played in like England. Like the guy's been outside, right back for as long as we've seen him, maybe as long as you've known him too.
What was the name of his team in England?
Oh God, it was something really embarrassing. Chudsworth or something. I'm gonna have to look it up. Shoot, that's so bad. That's right. His team sucked.
Good speed round question.
Yeah. So on to the next game, which comes up on Saturday when we break in our brand new stadium and welcome Med City to Osseo Senior High School.
Well, Nate, last year we destroyed the Naughty Nurses' playoff hopes with a win at their house in the last game of the season, and they'll be sure to look for revenge after that.
Yeah.
But they've had a lot of changes that have happened to them since we last played. They have a new coach. Looks like they're running a new formation, a new style of play, but they have the same goal, and that's to live up to their expectations and then kind of tamper that massive slide that they had last year.
Yeah, so Duluth, or I should say Med City, more than Duluth, has been spending the offseason kind of searching for more talent that they can ship in from out of the state, out of the country, to kind of help push them over the top, especially being in Rochester. Their pool of local players is fairly small, and so they have to kind of go searching far afield for effective players, and sometimes that takes them to weird places. Should we be worried about what these new medics can do?
I mean, there's always a little bit of worry because you don't know who's going to be there. I mean, there's no Thilo Wilkie this year that I know of.
Oh, really?
I mean, I didn't see him at all, and he was very dangerous. Not to say that he's not going to come back, but I haven't seen a whisper of him since last year. But they mostly have the same side that they brought back last year, which can be kind of equal parts dangerous and also equal parts skeptical, as I mentioned. Are we going to get the team that folded throughout the season, or are we going to get the team like you mentioned that has something to prove? And I believe there's a 55-1 article that kind of did a little rundown on them, and their goalie had mentioned that trainings got kind of sloppy towards the end of the year, and guys just didn't have the drive, and part of that is if you're housed with the same guys week in and week out. Pretty much all summer, all you do is see the same faces, and you don't have a life outside of soccer. You can really start to get, a little bit monotonous. So, the one player that I did see when I watched them play last night in their preseason tune-up against Dubuque of the UPSL was their big striker Claudio Rapido, who scored their first goal. And I thought he was going to just be the big target guy that they kind of lacked last season. However, he did play that part, but he was also a dynamic run maker who kind of was consistently on that razor's edge of the back line. Most times than not, it's a preseason tune-up. You're kind of working on things. He was off sides, but that to me is a sign of one thing, and that's the mindset of a guy who just wants to score goals.
Yeah.
So I think if I can take anything away from the new players or just the newness of Med City is we really got to be careful of that guy. And I hope I'm not once again eating my words.
So I'm looking at their roster currently on NPSL North, and there aren't a lot of names that I recognize beyond Matias Pazos Dumic and Midat Mujic, the Mia brothers,
Mila?
Javier
Yep.
and Ignacio,
Yep.
and that's about it.
Their goalkeeper.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but I'm, so who knows what we're going to get?
Right.
Who do you anticipate we will have available on Saturday that maybe didn't make the trip to Sioux Falls?
Great question, Nate.
Thanks.
We'll have quite a few guys back in the A team that we did not have last week. And I'm going to name some names off here, and then you're going to be like, oh, yeah, it would have been really great to have those guys in the 2-2 draw. Matt Elder
Yep.
is one of them. We only brought
Once
one
again,
goalkeeper.
only bringing one goalie to
Yeah.
Sioux Falls.
Technically we brought two last year. Just one of them had to play in the field.
That's true.
So Matt will be back. Martin Brown Jr., Trey Benhart, Goose is back. Max Stegward's back after a year away from us. And then we have another U23 call-up in Matt Murakami, who's been really putting in great work over the past few weeks that will likely fill that kind of Swiss Army knife role that we lost due to the departure of school-related issues with Kevin Huff.
Oh, yeah, his mom followed us on Twitter today.
What a great lady. Thank you very much, Mrs. Huff.
No, Mrs.
ask her-
Murakami.
Oh, Mrs. Murakami. I think Mrs.
Yeah.
Huff. Oh,
no.
Mrs. Murakami is also a great woman. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe ask a question. That'd be great.
Please.
Yeah, please. If you do listen, if not, we'll find you and make sure you dial into our episodes in the future. But he can play on a wing. He can play in the back line. He can play centrally if the situation arises. And I'm really happy for him. And it just shows that if you're on that U23 roster, it's now been 2 weeks that we brought up a player. So if I were you, young ones, I would be paying attention to the fact that you really, really should be putting the work in day in and day out when we get together. Not only when we have cross-training, but when you're on your own with your own individual team, because the word travels fast and it travels up. So clean your ears out, kids.
So this is just to remind the listeners, Matt Murakami is coming to us from Gustavus, right?
Correct.
All right, cool. And where did he play around here? Where did he grow up?
Man.
Eden Prairie.
Asking me to pull some stuff out of the old memory bank. Yeah,
Eden Prairie, I got it.
Yeah, he's in my neck of the woods.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. So the game details for Saturday, of course, you and I are super excited to be there and be in the booth. I got my playlist in the works already. I got my proper chords ordered. I'm ready to go. It is Saturday, May 12th at Osseo Senior High School Stadium. The gates will open at 6 o'clock and the kickoff will be at 7. Potter's Pasties will be there, or Pasties, however you want to say it. And if you don't want to make the drive all the way up to Osseo by yourself, the Murder Bus is a thing, and it's going to leave from New Bohemia on Lake Street at 6 p.m. or around there. So you should take that thing up to Osseo for only $10. Thank you to the Citizens for organizing that. If you're interested in the Murder Bus, you want to make sure to visit thecitizensSG.com/store and look for it there. I think that's a great idea, and I hope it's gonna be a good time on that bus.
Well, and there's a little rumor that it's gonna be fueled with Summit going up there.
Woo!
So yeah, so I just hope that they pull into the stadium and then it's just a loud, massive chant of "Murder Bus, Murder Bus."
That would be sweet.
And I mean, I'm talking perfect timing. And I'm talking a loud Murder Bus chant where like everyone within like a square city mile can hear you. So the Crows better be ready, Nate, because they will need to turn around on short rest and head down Excelsior Boulevard to Minnetonka to play the Minnesota TwinStars.
John, if there's these fucking Twin Stars, if there's one thing that we know, it's for some reason the Twin Stars take their games against us like 100% more seriously than against any other team. Why is that? Why us?
I think there's a lot that goes into it. How much time do we have? Totally kidding, or not. We probably have a whole show about that. But I think it's a pride thing. They've been around for some time, and then we kind of come in like Johnny come lately with our bravado and our glorious weirdness, and we garner all this attention that they didn't. So I think maybe a little bit of a chip there.
Yeah.
But these guys all know each other, and there's nothing better than besting a guy or a group of guys that you know very well.
Yeah, especially because the Twin Stars have their own little academy there, so anyone that kind of grew up in the cities might, have grown up playing against them anyway. Like you said, probably went to high school or played against them in high school with them. So a lot of familiar faces on these teams. It's or on this Twin Stars team especially, that'll be kind of interesting to see. Against team. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think so. Another thing too is we've had quite a few players on our roster that played for them and have mentioned like the disorganization and kind of the weirdness that's going on there. So, I that's probably got to add to it a little bit as well. Because some of those guys have not really spoken the best about their experience.
Yeah.
But they do their thing and we do our thing. So I can't wait. Hopefully better results.
It's a Wednesday game, John, and against teams not named Eris, middle of the week games rarely go our way or have in the past. Why do you think that is? And are things going to be different this year?
Well, you have guys that have they've been working all day, like sitting in a chair behind a computer. They have to fight traffic to get there, which can make even the calmest of individuals completely flustered.
Yeah.
Or maybe they had a spat with their significant other. Whatever it is, guys need to do a better job of getting their minds right before it's 60 minutes in and we're down to 2 goals. So this year we told our players well ahead of time what the schedule was so they can plan better. And it will be reiterated more than a few times as soon as Saturday's game is over.
Yeah. It's the thing with the summer, maybe it's just the industry that we're in, but like it feels like it's the time to leave work early anyway. Like it's okay to dip a couple hours early and get your mind right once in a while.
Right. And that's how the creative juices flow, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, as far as what we're going to run into this year, it's definitely going to be a different Twin Star squad than last year. Gone is one of the Oliver brothers, the good one. Ex-Crow Brian Chapman, but Kareem Darbaki and Tyler Oliver, Chase Wright, Sean Teskey, they'll all give us some trouble like they always do. There's still a question around whether or not Bernidum is going to be back at his childhood club, so maybe another familiar face that'll be there.
Yeah, he's on the roster. I was really surprised considering that he joined us to Aurora and Rochester and then kind of faded back into the Twin Stars orbit.
Yep, just still trying to figure out what's going on there. So
okay.
Who knows? But the other guys for sure will be there.
Yeah. So based on today's tweet that they had, it looks like the Twin Stars populated their squad with a mix of international players drawn from local and smaller colleges and universities and some Minnesota high school products. So I'm just going to rip through these guys, John, and their schools, maybe where they're from, and then give me your impressions of their pedigree, because a lot of these places I've never heard of. So they added a couple defenders, their first defender being Jeremy Banya, who is from France. He's a French international, and he goes to Lee University of Tennessee. The only thing of note on this guy is that he's 6'5", so that's pretty solid. They added a kid named Diego Rivera, who looks just adorable in his picture for a defender, and he's Chilean, and he goes to Iowa Western. And then they added another defender, Adrian Perkins, who I think is a Twin Stars Academy product, who is finishing at Minnetonka this year.
Well, I think one thing to say about Jeremy, he's not a French international. He is an international from France.
That's right. That's what I meant. Sorry. International player.
Yeah. Don't want our fans thinking we're lining up
against some kid
who trains with Griezmann in the
U20. No.
Yeah.
And then midfielders, they added some kid named Jareed Murray from Trinidad and Tobago, who goes to the University of Hartford. A kid named Stoyle Ganev, who knows if I pronounced that right, who went to Plymouth, or he's from Plymouth, and he goes to Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. So not just Southern Illinois, but the Edwardsville campus very specifically. And then a kid from Japan named Taiki Kinugawa, who goes to Marshalltown Community College. And he's not their only Marshalltown prospect. They've got a forward named David Chroma. Any relation to Siku? Who knows? He grew up in Brooklyn Park and went to Marshalltown, or goes to Marshalltown as well. Do any of these institutions ring a bell?
Yes, I'm aware of Iowa Western.
Yep.
I am also aware of Illinois Edwardsville and Marshalltown as well.
Oh, where is Marshalltown?
Marshalltown's in one of the Dakotas, I believe.
Okay. And then one other player of note that I want to bring up real quickly, just to kind
Actually,
of
no, I'm sorry. It's in Iowa.
Oh, okay. So a player of note I want to bring up just as a chuckle they added a goalkeeper named Malachi D'Onofrio, who has jumped ship from the FC Minneapolis debacle. But our coach Ben Skoten knows him from his Fusion days. So that's kind of interesting that Malachi is on the TwinStars. Probably second fiddle to Sean Teskey, of course, one of the best goalkeepers in the region. But still kind of funny that they added a kid from FC Minneapolis.
So traditionally, as we know, they've promoted from within through their academy. But, as we see a bunch of players leave for one reason or another, they've started to kind of look outside of the house, as you noted. The one player that I do know of is Tiaki Kinugawa. We're just going to call him the Japanese international. He's a player who I've actually seen play during my scouting of other players in the offseason. Mm-hmm. He's a real tidy midfielder who's good on the ball. He has speed to play on a wing or up top, which could maybe be a replacement for the Oliver who left. But look for him to do most of his work through the middle of the field, perhaps partnering with Kareem. So, but he is the one, I think, out of that group that really, really jumps off paper towards me. The rest of the new players are young, and to be quite honest, we'll have to kind of be battle tested in our very physical, tough, experienced division for me to have an opinion on them. So it'll kind of yet to be seen if they're going to cause problems until we play a match against them. But with that youth comes either a world beating mindset, like F off, I'm the best and I'm gonna go out and perform.
Yeah.
Or you get a guy that flies off the handle if he's pressed or if he's fouled a lot. Or then the last piece, the player who wilts, who can't handle the pressure. So it's kind of a crapshoot, Nate. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think great points there, especially on their youth. When we get excited, or I try to temper my excitement about some of the youth that we add by remembering a story or remembering something I witnessed when we played against TwinStars at home last year. And it was something from Goose. Like, again, a tried and tested younger player on our team, very, very skilled, super talented, but still younger. And he was getting kind of knocked around by Darbaki a little bit. And I remember Goose kind of was hit back at some point. Darbaki went off and fouled him. The ref called him. And I remember Darbaki yelling at the ref something like, I'm a man, and that is a boy," kind of a thing. Like, that is the attitude a lot of these older guys have on some of the youth that gets brought in. So it's interesting to see how not only the youth deal with the pressure, but how some of these older guys who are used to kind of throwing their weight around on the field attempt to assert themselves over these guys.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Like, how old are you? Probably.
Who knows? So, game details. Let's talk about them. Wednesday, May 16th at Minnetonka High School Stadium. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. Leave work early and come cheer on your Crows. There will not be a murder bus, but there'll be a bunch of individual murder cars that you can drive yourself in that will be able to... Plenty of parking for the murder cars.
Yeah, and if you want, you can buy tickets ahead of time. Through their website, if you want to venture over there. I did it just because it was a hassle to get a ticket once we got there last time.
Bring cash.
Right, because you had to bring cash and all that bullshit. So I just bought my ticket now. So go ahead and buy it online ahead of time and save yourself the trouble. Only $10.
Yep, and then hop in your murder car and just drive on west.
That's right.
So that is all for this week's show. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Summit Brewing. There is a new member to the Summit fleet this week, folks, and that is the delicious and refreshing Lazy Sipper. This crisp set of suds that offers a hint of strawberry finish is ideal for a warm summer day, which we hope continues to happen. So head on down to the tap room, your local bar, or your local liquor store and pick some up today. The home opener, Osseo High School, was Break That Place In, is Saturday, and it is not too late to buy a membership for 2018. For $65, you get a cool season pass to all city matches this summer, including open friendlies, which are over, MPSL and U23 games, a classy new membership scarf, and of course a vote so you can have a say in the direction of local soccer. So head on over to mplscitysc.com and purchase 1 or 5 right now.
Yeah.
If giving back to the community is an important part of your life, maybe it's time to give to the club that loves to give back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that loves to provide a safe, reliable, fun environment for the less fortunate young people to play the beautiful game. Look for us this summer playing with kids in parks and community centers around the city, and consider a tax-deductible donation to a truly city-focused organization. Excuse me. Send us mail. It is easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email mcsepodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, you can hit up the club at MPLS City SC. Again, this is all for this week, folks. We once again leave you with our house MC and resident of Sweden, Miles Stockman-Willis, a.k.a. Milays, with a track called The Come Up. I am John, that is Nate, and you are the people. Let's right the ship and get a win this weekend, why don't we? You got hooked.
Poster burning maple weeds, cradle major keys. Thinking back, I've been major since the minor league. So supreme, too much sauce off my olive NMDs. I could staple steez, bend the goat so I get the cheese. Never fall, rake them leaves and make sure every moment gets seized. And everything I see is make believe. Cuff a bad bitch, make her wipe off Maybelline. She wanna F with me, maybe get close data G. Run up data plans, getting A to B like AT&T. Hate me when she's coming, it's the perfect time for me to leave. Patience then is crave, so I'm craving her creatively. Make her breakfast in bed, then have sex instead. One life, live it up. 175 Grey Goose, treated like a sippy cup. 105 on the dash, watch me giddy up. Only one on the bench, still press the city up. No stress from the press, it ain't news, I'm getting paper. Ask for the check, first time I see the waiter. Make my own luck, knocking over salt shakers. Every September 4th, should've put in more labor. Yes, flex, get out my lane, we ain't the same. Don't play Red Rover with the train. Lingo rolling off my tongue like a slogan spoken slang. Surely spitting like this token wrote and spoke it in some bangs. I could hang a vampire, highly inspired. Haven't reached this height before, I might get higher. Crew conspires round the campfire, rolling till our hands tired. Rap MacGyver saying sapphire, satire. With the swag, attire you admire. So well put together, no assembly required. Newly hired, still this heat so fire that it gets them fired. Fuck boys thinking that they fresh but expired. Everybody's flawed, that's just life's law. Wonder what life will be like when the ice thaw. I'll die any day cause I'm down for the cause. Do it bigger than the Big Bang like my name was Rush. Burning bridges with no guts. Tell her open up her jaws and feed her nothing but bare claws. All about my dough so she want a nut duck. Keep my ducks on the row on the pond like what? Getting flocks at each show, giving out goosebumps. Playing with her heart, claim she playing spades. Whenever we apart, her brain ain't the same. Tickle her pussy as I tickle her ear hair. More boss than Ross, never been to a career fair. Blood, sweat, tears dripping off my upper lip. On some shit, krillin', chillin', gripping on destructo disc. Go left, go right in life, maybe eat a Twix. Rapping like a silly rabbit, tripping in the tricks. On the come up. Yeah, boy, this the come up. Whole squad about to motherfucking come up.